This is the Mighty Mansion program. I am here with Evan Ringler. We are going to talk about Dynasty, Dynasty only, Dynasty, Dynasty, Dynasty. I know that the playoffs are happening. We wish these four teams all the best, but right now we have to discuss a major, massive update to the Dynasty rankings. We're processing everything that happened last year, starting to make projections for 2026 already. Evan has a bunch of players to talk about, movers up and down the Dynasty rankings. We're going to get into it. Oh, baby. My man, Evan Ringler, head of analytics here at PlayerProfiler.com. Ooh, where do we start? I think we got to start at quarterback. Let's just, there's a lot to talk about with quarterback, more than usual. But before we go there, I mean, the thing I'm most interested, I'm just going to go. I'm skipping the quarterback questions for now. I don't care about what the order is. I want to go straight to what I'm most interested in talking about, and that is the Seattle backfield. This is a game that's happening, Seattle, Los Angeles, this weekend. No Zach Charbonnet. Devastating ACL injury at the worst possible time for a NFL player. It's impossible to actually pinpoint a worse situation than a player who is heading into a season where they could have a backfield to themselves and they could earn a massive contract extension or a premium place in free agency. Everything is teed up in 2026 for Zach Charbonnet as of a week ago. And now everything has completely collapsed. Everything is now teed up for Kenneth Walker. And it's a very sad situation. So I just want to get your take on where are we now with Zach Charbonnet? Where are we now with Kenneth Walker in Dynasty?
So most likely Kenneth Walker will re-sign in Seattle this offseason. Charbonnet is pretty much a dead asset for 2026. Best case scenario for Charbonnet is that he gets to be the 1B in 2027. I think that is his best case scenario, probably on another team then as well. So he's going to be a nothing burger on your roster until 2027, most likely. I would sell Charbonnet right now for any second round pick that I could get. Keep trade cut currently has him valued higher than Jaden Higgins, which is pretty crazy.
That's just for now. That's a temporary. That's more
Probably, yeah.
people have to start submitting their ranking
Yeah.
preferences. It's going to take time for that to adjust, but it will adjust.
And then I would trade any pick later than roughly 108 for Kenneth Walker. I think he's a great buy right now. The Seahawks will probably bring in somebody to take some touches away from Kenneth Walker, but we should see him go from like a 50% opportunity share player up to a 60 or 70% for next season. And we know that he's been incredibly efficient throughout his career. In 2025, he ranked first in juke rate, fourth in explosiveness rating, and third in breakaway runs. Plus, he's significantly improved as a pass catcher. He could be in for a total smash season. I think a mid to late first is definitely worth paying in 2026 for Kenneth Walker.
We currently have Kenneth Walker at RB 18. Is that where he is until he goes off on Sunday? Or do you think we'll move him up even higher in the meantime?
I think there's a chance that he can move up even higher, potentially into that top 15. We'll see how he ends the playoffs, and we'll see who they bring in to compete with him. There's a real chance that he could be a stone cold RB1 in 2026.
Yeah, he's 25.3 years old. Christian McCaffrey's 29.6. Saquon's 29. Josh Jacobs 28. So he's more than 3.5 years younger than Saquon Barkley, more than 2.5 years younger than Josh Jacobs. I would think that he should be RB 16 by the end of the weekend. That's my guess. And
That's fair.
RB 15 is very much in his range of outcomes, though Christian McCaffrey, 24.5 fantasy points per game. The per game upside on Christian McCaffrey is so great, but it's very difficult in Dynasty. Like if you are a clear win now team, you want Christian McCaffrey. But if you're rebuilding, you're not that interested in Kenneth Walker. If you're rebuilding, he's 25.4. He's going to be 26 at the beginning of next season. And there's going to be uncertainty about, what his role is going to be in 2027. They probably won't bring Zach Charbonnet back, but we don't know. We don't know how Zach Charbonnet is going to look at the end
Right.
of 2026. So there's some uncertainty around Kenneth Walker. If I'm a stone locked in win now team, how do I not just go McCaffrey? If you're trying to win, you go McCaffrey. So
Yeah.
that's where there isn't a lot of rebuild juice with Kenneth Walker. There's not a lot of rebuild value that would justify vaulting him over Christian McCaffrey. If he was, a year or two younger, it would be a slam dunk. But I think that with Chase Brown, he's in such a great situation, such a great offense, and he has a little less mileage. He's had fewer injuries. I think that it would be very difficult, even though they're a similar age, it would be difficult for Kenneth Walker to surpass Chase Brown unless we believe that Cincinnati's in the market for a running back. I don't think they are. I think that Chase Brown, he puts up 16.5 fantasy points per game. He has delivered as their primary back. Why would they get there? It's not a world where they're shopping for we need to help Chase Brown. No, I think they're going to add depth behind him. They have Taj Brooks coming back, so I think that is safe. Kenneth Walker leapfrogging Chase Brown would be difficult to imagine. He would have to really shred the next two games. They would have to have a great game this weekend, and then he would have to be on a team that advances to the Super Bowl and then do well in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and even then, I don't even know. I think we'd have to see how the offseason plays out. Both teams will bring in some depth, but I'm not expecting either team to bring in significant pieces either. And the Bengals offense is just easier to rely on in the future than the Seahawks offense, which is, it's Sam Darnold versus Joe Burrow. That's really all it comes down to. And then going back to the Christian McCaffrey versus Kenneth Walker argument, that's just a really tough one to have because Christian McCaffrey, he's just not really getting traded in dynasty leagues. If he's on your roster, he's probably going to die on your roster. So I don't know. It's one of those things where, yeah, maybe Kenneth Walker can't pass him in the dynasty rankings just yet, but it's going to be really hard to figure out in the trade market because Christian McCaffrey, he's just sticking on your team if you have him.
There's a player that I'm intrigued by because he had a lost season, 3.5 fantasy points per game, had the injury at the halfway point, had flashed. Braelon Allen. You look down the board, that's the tier that Zach Charbonnet is in, right? We're talking about, a banger like Braelon Allen. But he has shown that he can catch passes out of the backfield. Career arc is totally up in the air depending on what the Jets do at the running back position. We have no idea. With Charbonnet, he needs to come back healthy, but if a healthy Charbonnet, you would think would be more valuable going into 2027 than a healthy Braelon Allen, but it's also possible that Braelon Allen becomes the primary back. There's some real upside there, where a guy like Kamani Vidal, for example, who is currently ahead of Braelon Allen for all the right reasons. I mean, Kamani Vidal had some spike weeks, helped fantasy teams. Braelon Allen has yet to help fantasy teams. So I totally understand how in Dynasty and with the Dynasty rankings, you can't have a Braelon Allen ahead of a Kamani Vidal. But when you look at the roster trajectory of the Chargers versus the Jets, there is more upside with Allen, technically.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, he has only been a full-time running back for I think the last 4 or 5 years of his life. He went to Wisconsin as a linebacker. He's only 22 years old despite playing in the NFL for 2 seasons. So there is still immense upside there. We don't know what's going to happen with Brees Hall in the offseason, but I would expect him to stay on the Jets, probably via the franchise tag. We'll see how that goes. I think that the Jets situation is actually ascending and a situation that I kind of want to bet on going forward. Their offensive line is in place, and they're just kind of waiting for the quarterback. They have Garrett Wilson as well. They have some pieces on defense, and I trust their coaching staff too. But it really starts with the offensive line.
You like Braelon Allen or Zach Charbonnet?
Oh, I'd probably go with Zach Charbonnet because we've seen it before, and he's got the guaranteed pass catching ability and pass protection as well. More of a trusted back in the league versus Braelon Allen, who is unproven at this point.
I will just let the audience know we have on our Dynasty rankings, playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe. Subscribe. I mean, we're talking about rankings. We're talking about trade analyzer, rookie guide. I mean, it's okay. You got to get it. If you play Dynasty at all, you're investing a lot of time. It's well worth it. And this is not just, what the market thinks about these players. Oh, no, no, no. No, we have our own proprietary 3-year projection model that we use to generate these lifetime values. And it has helped a lot of Dynasty leaguers win a lot of leagues. It was funny to see Charbonnet in there next to a player, Tajay Spears. So he's adjacent to Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears is RB42. Zach Charbonnet, RB41. And it funny only in that it's a coincidence. It's not really amusing. But Charbonnet tears his ACL, and he happens to be adjacent to the guy with the most famous ACL tears where, coming out of the Senior Bowl is like, hey, you look great at the Senior Bowl. This guy's electric, but the problem is, like, he's torn his knee up 5 times, and he has no cartilage. So he's next to a guy with no knee cartilage. The guy that was famously lacking knee cartilage. There's Zach Charbonnet. They're riding on the Dynasty rankings together. Staying with the running back position, I love talking about Cam Skattebo because why not, right? Cam Skattebo's fun. And adjacent to Cam Skattebo is Quinshon Judkins. And this is very interesting to me. RB12, Quinshon Judkins. RB13, Cam Skattebo. Quinshon Judkins, a year and a half younger, more than a year and a half younger. Cam Skattebo, much more productive in his rookie year. Cam Skattebo on an ascending offense. Quinshon Judkins, not so much. So talk us through Judkins versus Skattebo. This one is interesting. This is a decision that a lot of people in startups are going to be making.
Yeah, so Judkins is younger, and he was the better prospect for sure. But Skattebo's in the better situation. He also performed better as a rookie. The efficiency metrics clearly point towards Skattebo. He was 6th in yards created per touch this year as a rookie. And he's also the much better receiver. One of the best receiving backs in the league, honestly, for my money. So I want to be betting on Cam Skattebo going forward. We are well below consensus on Quinshon Judkins right now and well ahead of consensus on Cam Skattebo. And we're doing that for a reason.
So we go to Keep Trade Cut, for example. You're going to see a wider differential between Judkins up vis-a-vis Cam Skattebo well below.
Yes.
Weird. Weird. I think I was wondering whether they should be reversed.
Me too. Yeah. It was pretty surprising when I saw that on Keep Trade Cut.
I mean, but you're a flip-flopper, Podfather. You didn't love Cam Skattebo coming out. No, I had this one concern about his straight line speed. This is a very big concern, and there's a lot of running backs, especially day 3 picks, that couldn't get over that. Turns out he's such a hard runner. He has such great instincts, and he's just great at football at a level. The great at football score of Cam Skattebo is high enough to overwhelm the fact that he's not going to give you breakaway runs. That's just not what he's going to do. Kenneth Walker
but he is
do that.
Everything else.
Yeah.
Skattebo is everything else.
Everything else. Basically, he has Kenneth Walker's attitude. He has Kenneth Walker's running style. He's a better receiver than Kenneth Walker, but he doesn't have the Kenneth Walker breakaway speed. So
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, he's like, he's nothing like Kenneth Walker. I was like, well, actually, I kind of see some interesting elements where it's like finding where these guys are the same and where they're different is interesting. Quinshon Judkins, who would you compare to him? Like if you go to Player Profiler right now and we look up Quinshon Judkins, his best comparable is Nick Chubb.
Yep.
And that makes a lot of sense. When I was trying to think who would be like a best compare of a running back who is in the league, and it turns out that his best comp is actually still in the league. So, boom.
Yeah, it's a great comp too. Obviously, both of them played for the Browns. They have similar running styles as well, similar profiles coming out of college. It really all works together. Judkins just destroyed his knee. Chubb famously has destroyed his knee twice.
Yeah.
Um, Chubb looked great after the first knee injury, so maybe that we see that from Judkins as well. I would bet that we do. I think he probably has a very strong recovery. He looked great on film this year, I thought, but the metrics didn't really shake out, and you can probably blame most of that on just being part of the Browns ecosystem. So, hopefully they can find a quarterback going forward. That would do a lot for his dynasty value for sure.
I think that's the best argument for him is that they can only get better at the quarterback position. It's only
Right.
going up from here at the quarterback position and the offensive line and the whole offense in general. So there'll be more red zone visits. There'll be more running lanes. There'll be the defense won't be just collapsing on him on every play. He did have the number one athleticism score among running backs in last year's class because it's size adjusted, the athleticism score.
Right.
So if you're going to go out there and run a sub 4.5 40 with a 94th percentile burst score, my goodness, it would be fun to see him on a good offense, wouldn't it?
Oh,
And you have to think
absolutely.
it's going to happen eventually.
I mean, we'll see. It is the Browns after all, but there's nowhere to go but up.
Wouldn't you agree that there's no better source of value in Dynasty than finding players on bad teams that the situation is sort of overwhelming the valuation and disproportionately
Yeah.
affecting the valuation? That is the tried and true method in Dynasty to be value shopping.
Yeah, that's totally fair. One guy that I think about right now is Garrett Wilson, who we are ahead of consensus on by quite a bit, because we think that the Jets are ascending, while I guess the market doesn't. That's clearly a team that's headed up because they've been so low. And then another team you could
Whoa,
talk
whoa,
about
whoa,
with
whoa,
that
whoa,
would be
whoa,
the
whoa, whoa,
Titans.
whoa, 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 whoa. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is there a way that we can frame our opinion of the Jets offense with a word that is not ascending? When you say the Jets offense is ascending, no, and I'm Mr. Fade the situation in Dynasty.
Mhm.
Again, I was ready to go with that sort of a bit of advice. That said, I mean, ascending, not really. They
Okay, how
do.
about this?
They're boxed out of a quarterback this year, but the thing is, stranger things happen. You have a
Mhm.
team with no quarterback, like Seattle, and they decide, okay, we're going to bring in Sam Darnold and hope that he can recapture the Minnesota Magic, and he did. Great, good for you. Or we had in Arizona. Oh, we lost our primary starting quarterback, and we're going to bring in a quarterback that is actually going to put up better numbers and make the offense work better. Shockingly, but yet not shocking. That's like Jacoby Brissett's job. That's his job description. I
Mhm.
am the most underrated quarterback in the league. I make offenses better when they put me in. And then I get disregarded and discarded, and I have to find my way to another team, and then I rise back up the depth chart, and I'm the starter again, and everyone loves me, and then I'm on to the next team, and so on. Yet I still don't believe would Jacoby Brissett ever win a Super Bowl if some team committed to
No.
him. I would say no, of course not.
No
But
way.
still, that doesn't mean he's not super underrated. We have Garrett Wilson at wide receiver 10. That is well ahead of market
Mhm.
because there is no target competition in New York. The quarterback play is destined to get better. He is excellent. We're talking about 3 straight seasons with 150 plus targets. I'll say it again, man.
That's
His
incredible.
first 3 years in the league, 150 plus targets each and every year, almost 147 in his rookie year. Close enough. Almost. Okay, I'll say it. 145 targets, 145 plus targets, 3 straight years. He's a superb playmaker. Man, wouldn't it be nice to be in a startup and be able to just just bank the value? Okay, we're going Garrett Wilson. Oh my God! Imagine you could stack Jets. In Dynasty, a startup. You're in a startup. Oh, we're going Garrett Wilson. Then later, I'm going to go with Braelon Allen. Let's do this, right? I think there's a higher likelihood that Breece Hall goes somewhere in free agency, that someone throws some money at him, and the Jets are leaning into the rebuild in a way that they feel like there's no use in re-signing a running back that doesn't help our team at all. I'm more of an entertainer of that particular scenario than I think you are, which is why I'm probably maybe a little bit more bullish on Braelon Allen, but we have to be real. We always think in mid-January that a lot of these free agents, they're going places, right? They're going. T. Higgins, where's he going to go? Where's T. Higgins going, Evan? Where's he going? Where's he going? Oh, no, they're staying. Oh, they signed an quietly signs an extension. Quietly signs an extension. Like, oh, damn it. Right? So when we are factoring in free agency in the lifetime value rating, there is the hard data has like what is the likelihood this player changes teams, and it's always lower than we would love to see, because then there's more to talk about and there's more value being unlocked when guys change teams, but it just doesn't happen quite as much as we would like it to.
Yep.
We do have to talk about quarterback. I think now is the time. I'm very interested. When you were looking at the quarterback position, we had this massive Dynasty rankings update after the season. Which quarterback was surprisingly high?
JJ McCarthy. We have him at quarterback 18. Keep Trade Cut has him at quarterback 25. Significantly above consensus there. JJ McCarthy still has elite upside, the same elite upside that he had coming into this year. Functional mobility plus an elite situation. Sometimes rookie quarterbacks just struggle, and that's okay. We should expect them to be better in year 2. That happens all the time.
It was a de facto rookie year for him.
Yeah.
It was. That's what. And I talked to Cody about JJ McCarthy, and Cody is biased because he's a Vikings fan, and you know how fandom is. You just can't ever see things 100% clear.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that he's just pissed about the situation that has unfolded.
Yeah.
And certainly if you're Justin Jefferson, you're pissed. Like, this is not fun to deal with. I watched a bunch of Vikings plays with JJ McCarthy where I looked up and I thought, he's got a stronger arm than I thought. Like, he's throwing across his body. He's throwing, running one way, back the other way. And the ball's getting there. And most of the time, it's not that he's underthrowing it. His issue was airmailing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy was like hitting the crossbar of he was hitting the goalpost by accident. He was throwing it into the stands on a fade. It's like, dude, just settle down, man. Like, you don't have to. So, and then sometimes it would get tipped and then it would get intercepted. But I'm like, it could just be about this guy adjusting and settling down and getting comfortable and letting the game slow down for him. I'm not going to run out and say, oh, he's a flawed quarterback from the beginning. He never had the physical skills, but the top 10 draft capital gave him an opportunity, but they're going to be in a hurry to move on. I don't think this is a Josh Rosen situation at all. And I appreciate that the engine, the player profiler lifetime value engine, is like, guys, just relax. We have a top 10 pick here. He's had 1 year where he could actually play. That's a situation. You want to talk about situations. If there's a situation that I'm actually going to bet on in Dynasty where I'm going to let it affect someone's value, it's going to be J.J. McCarthy, because we know Justin Jefferson's going nowhere and J.J. McCarthy's going nowhere for the next. I mean, they're going to pick up his option unless he's just completely incompetent. So we can assume he's going to be there for 3 years with Justin Jefferson in Justin Jefferson's prime. This is all you could hope for. So
you got Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell. That's all you need right there.
Thank you. Thank you. So that, yeah, counterintuitive, but that's just one where we are flag planning. What do you call flag planning in reverse? What's the opposite of flag planning? What if you hate the guy and the guy, and
I'm
what if
not
the
sure.
public likes him but we hate him? What is that? Is
I,
that
I
is
don't
that
know.
poop planting? What is that? Is that fertilizing? What is manure spreading? I don't know what that is, but that's burying something, digging a hole in the ground. I don't know what it would be. But there has to be a guy where we have installed a trapdoor on his value.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about this with Cody on Sonic Truth, but Lamar Jackson, we have him at quarterback 8. Keep Trade Cut has him at quarterback 4. Now, it's only a 4 spot difference, but that's a big difference at the top of the rankings versus the bottom of the rankings. That's a very wide gap. And the reason why we're so worried about Lamar Jackson going forward is that his rushing yards per game was cut in half this year. It went from 54 to 27 rushing yards per game. And he's 29 years old. So this is getting very alarming for his fantasy outlook. If you take away that rushing, all of a sudden there goes the elite ceiling.
If I start 2023 week 1 of the regular season with Lamar Jackson on any dynasty league teams, I mean, I should be kicked out of all leagues. Like I will do I'll do whatever it takes to get him off my roster. I mean, I don't have much Lamar Jackson in fairness for whatever reason. Probably because my teams were too good the year he was drafted, or I was more interested in executing a value based quarterback drafting strategy in superflex, which is typically what I do. So for a bunch of reasons, I'm heavily exposed to Lamar Jackson. Believe I have him in a league or two. He's going to be on the block for sure. And I love Keep Trade Cut, and we just have to share with the audience how this works is that, you know, people that use Keep Trade Cut, whenever they click on a player, they have the ability to say, of these 3 players, who do I prefer? Who do I buy, sell, hold? And at this time of year, you don't have a lot of people rushing to use a platform like that. Dynasty
Sure.
really ramps up after the Super Bowl. So between the Super Bowl and a month after the NFL draft, I mean, that's Dynasty season. But for this period of time, this window of time after the season is over, but before the Super Bowl, that's always a period of adjustment for a marketplace of player preferences like Keep Trade Cut. So even though he might be QB4 now, I can promise you, as more people are able to contribute to the crowdsourcing of the valuation, as this month plays out, as the month of February, the full season plays out, it's going to go down. I
Yeah,
would
that's
predict
fair.
he's QB6 by the Super Bowl on Keep Trade Cut. I'll just make that prediction right now. Somebody write it down. We'll put it in the calendar. We'll see if I'm right. QB6 by Super Bowl. But again, this is why you have your own proprietary valuation engine, so you're not relying on the wisdom of the crowd, which can be delayed. Right? There is an adjustment period when you're
Sure.
measuring the wisdom of the crowd. And that's sort of the value that we bring to the table with our dynasty rankings.
One thing that we have to touch on with Lamar Jackson is the injury history. If you are subscribed to the Injury Finder app, you will know this that Lamar Jackson ranks very highly every year in his fragility rating and injury probabilities because of his lower body injuries that he's racked up throughout his career. I mean, this year I think he had a hamstring, a knee, a toe, a hand, like it was all over the place. These are going to add up throughout his career. As he enters his 30s, he starts running less. These are real risk factors in Dynasty that we need to think about.
It's physics. It's just physics, but it's not like relativity. It's not even like Einsteinian physics. This is more Newtonian physics. This is
Sure.
just force and velocity, and it's what happens, right? So you have he has a force problem in that there's a reason why Hurts and Allen and the more stout quarterbacks that run the ball get injured less than the svelte quarterbacks. Because
Yep.
I was talking to my daughter about this. We were watching football, and there was a hit, and I was like, "Do you realize?" Because she's desensitized to the hits. I used to be desensitized. I have like a new appreciation to the hits. The hits really sometimes they jar me. I'm like, "This is crazy. This is so violent." And she's just like, "Whatever. That's football, Dad." I'm like, "It's not football. I mean, it is football, but it's not just football. It's really violent." I'm like, "You haven't played the game, lady. You haven't played the game. I've played football in high school, right?" And I'm like, "I was wearing a helmet and shoulder pads, and I was running around on those fields, and I know what it feels like." If that guy on that NFL field hit me like he just hit that running back or that receiver, I try to explain to her, here's what would happen to my body. My body would get elevated into the air. Okay, I would be airborne for a period of time. Okay, and my body's trying to absorb the collision. Right, then my body hits the ground. Right, so it's like I'm either gonna get hurt, and I think the most famous example of this with Darren Sproles, right, where he got hit, tore his ACL, popped up in the air, and then he landed and broke his arm.
Ouch.
It was like the worst injury scenario in the history of the league. He didn't get, like, I mean, no, clearly, like, Damar Hamlin, not,
Sure.
just talking about, like, how could you mathematically create a scenario where you maximize the number of injuries in a given collision? That's the answer to the maximal question, right? How do we maximize injuries on a given hit? He did it, right? He showed us how to do it. It was just crazy, and it's just physics. It's just basic force problem. When collisions happen, when these guys are teeing off on Lamar, he does not have the center of gravity, and he does not have the mass to absorb these collisions, and it puts more strain on connective tissue and all these other areas of his body, and it is going to speed up the process for which that his body breaks down. So not only is he 29 and he's not going to be able to run as much, as he can't run quite as fast, his escapability goes down slightly, he's also more prone to injury because he can't escape some of these collisions. And then when he does get in these collisions, it's like the second or third collision of a particular type, and that might be the breaking point. So there's a bunch of reasons why his injury probability is so high, and it's the league. It's certain players with these kinds of playing styles where they're going all out and they're putting themselves out there without the requisite mass to be able to absorb those kinds of collisions on a long-term basis, and they put up the flashy numbers when they're young. Absolutely, and it's exciting, right? Think about like another svelte player. Just what is a guy's BMI compared to the average for that position? So you could even talk about a guy like Deshaun Jackson. Like, this is something that happened to Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson basically the wide receiver version of this. And by his early 30s, he was out of the league.
Yeah, another guy to think about it with is Jaden Daniels, who has a reputation for getting hit a lot and is a thin archetype, kind of like Lamar Jackson. But the advantage that Jaden has is that he's significantly younger than Lamar. So he most likely still has several elite seasons left in him as far as a fantasy production goes. So that's why we have, Jaden Daniels is similar to Lamar, but obviously ranked quite higher than Lamar.
Well, Lamar had an MVP caliber age 28 season. And if you look at the
absolutely.
3-year projection, I mean, we're talking about Jaden Daniels in his late 25 season. where he's in his late 26, late 27. So, I mean, he's going to be 26, 27, 28 years old during the window in which we would value him for Dynasty. So, no, it's not a concern. But it's not going to be that long until it is a concern.
Absolutely.
It's only going to be a couple of years before we need to revisit this conversation with Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, Jayden Daniels, he's a win now asset, not really a rebuilding asset as much as you might think.
I wouldn't go that far, Evan. I wouldn't say. My point with Jayden Daniels is he's our QB3, and he's both a rebuild and a win now. He's a win everything.
Yeah.
He's a win everything guy. You can absolutely build around this guy. You should, even if you're thinking I'm going to, have this productive struggle for a year. At that point,
that's perfect for him. Yeah,
you shouldn't be like leaning more youth over Jayden Daniels. Maybe there's a case. I guess it's so close between Jayden Daniels and Kaleb Williams that if someone was going productive struggle and they knew they weren't going to be winning in 2026 or even competitive, it's so close with Daniels and Williams, I think I would say just go ahead and go Williams.
Yeah, I'm probably on the Williams side in just in most leagues.
Oh! Yeah. Our Dynasty rankings have the win now rebuild button. I just tapped the rebuild button. And guess what changed in the rankings?
Let's see. Kaleb Williams moves ahead of Jayden Daniels.
Oh! Unscripted. I swear that was unscripted. Tell the people that I did not talk about this before the show. We did not. We've not.
No,
these guys aren't even on the show sheet.
Nope.
You brought up Jayden Daniels, and we never talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Player Profiler is sick, man. It's just a sick thing.
Should we move on to the other quarterback from that class?
No, because I want to talk about something else that's sick.
Okay.
Fast draft. So we have a Super Slam contest up right now for the conference championship week. It's very exciting. We're recording on a Friday. The thing's already more than 50% full. So we're very blessed that so many people love Fast Draft, and it's resonating. There's also a best ball game open right now. It is called Origins, and it's an all-rookie contest, and there's actually some edge to be had with Origins. We'll talk about it in a minute. Also, in a couple days, the day after the AFC Championship and NFC Championship, we will be launching the Rabbit, a 15-round best ball tournament. We're not 100% sure on what the prize pool is going to be, but it's going to be good. It's going to be a good one. That one is going to be a $10 entry. I think probably just do $50,000. Right? Why not?
Yeah, why not?
We haven't talked about it. Why not? We'll do that. Monday, that's going to launch. As soon as these games are over, we're pretty much ready to go launching that. And we just got the word today from the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan has approved real money gaming on Fast Draft in the state of Michigan, one of very few platforms where you can play for money in fantasy football. Michigan was a very difficult state to get, but I respect the hell out of their process. Billy and I actually had to fly there and interview with them, so that was a big accomplishment for us. And we have a little bit more about the Origins tournament, what it's all about, right here. Hey, pop quiz hotshot. Who is Jeremiah Love? Who's Fernando Mendoza? Who's Makai Lemon? Well, they just happen to be the first 3 picks off the board in the 2026 Origins tournament, which is currently live on Fast Draft. That is right. 2026 Best Ball has already begun on Fast Draft. Use code FAST to get a $50 deposit match. Code is FAST for a $50 deposit match. Best Ball 2026 is now. Start drafting faster. Okay. Interesting note. When you have a way too early tournament where you're speculating on who is going to come out, we don't know. So what ended up happening with Fast Draft is that we had a few players that were in the pool, they're in the slate, they were drafted a lot, and then they ended up going back to school. What does that mean, Evan?
That means that basically anybody who joins Origins, drafts 6 players who are entering the NFL draft, you instantly get a positive expected value, essentially, because so many teams own these guys like Dante Moore and Justice Haynes, who are still in the top 8 of ADP in the Origins tournament.
What?
And they'll continue to be auto drafted by some people as well.
Yeah, I mean, some people, they just auto draft. I mean, who knows why? But yeah, let's look at the ADP. So if you go to fastdraft.app, you can see the ADP is right there. And if you scroll down, look, Dante Moore's falling. He's fallen a lot of several spots. He's finally okay. This is what I was looking for. He's now only 95% owned because in recent drafts he is going undrafted. Justice Haynes, same thing.
Finally.
Some recent drafts, they're going undrafted. These guys are going undrafted, but it's already more than 30% full. So you've already got a bunch of teams that are close to dead. We're not going to say anyone's dead. I've seen stranger things happen, but we have some teams that are in a very challenging situation because they have either Justice Hayes or Dante Moore. And just because of those two players, if you're drafting now, you get edge. Let's take a look at the wide receiver position.
Let's do it.
Who, when you looked at the final rankings, and you can't say Garrett Wilson, who did you think was, based on again the lifetime value engine, surprisingly high for you? Who would be that?
I picked out Zay Flowers, who we have at wide receiver 21. The consensus is around wide receiver 26. So not a huge gap, but that is significant. Flowers took a giant step forward this year. He jumped up to a 29% target share and over 2.6 yards per route run. It was really an elite season from Zay Flowers that kind of flew under the radar. This pass catching room, it's wide open for Zay Flowers to continue eating. This has been a guy that we've always been on throughout his career. And I still think that Lamar has good years as a passer remaining, even if we just discussed that his rushing is trending downhill hard. His passing is still very good and can support Zay Flowers going forward.
It's all gravy right now for Zay Flowers, isn't it? The Ravens have a bunch of needs. No one is saying, oh, the Ravens missed the playoffs and they need to upgrade the wide receiver position. I don't hear that much.
No.
There's a bunch of other positions they need to work on. So I don't think that he's at risk of the team drafting a wide receiver in the top 50 players in the draft. I don't see that happening.
Surprised.
They have other priorities. They know they have strong tight end play. They have good receivers coming out of the backfield, Keaton Mitchell and Justice Hill last year, that are competent pass catchers. They have Zay Flowers as their clear number one. Therefore, his role is relatively secure. His quarterback is going to be running and burning less dropbacks on rushes.
Right.
And it's also not I don't want to think too much about it, but we've talked about Lamar Jackson is a high likelihood to miss games. But they could easily change their backup quarterback. This is a team can always add a Jacoby Brissett in the offseason. You never know. You never know who's going to sign Jacoby Brissett. You never know who's going to sign, one of the top 5 backup quarterbacks. It could be that the Ravens are doing this similar assessment that we are, that they have the Injury Finder app, and they're thinking, all right, we need to protect ourselves. If we had a better backup quarterback last year, we would have made the playoffs. They might be thinking that. And then if Lamar misses games, that could conceivably, like Jacoby Brissett under center, in Arizona that could conceivably be a boost to Zay Flowers in that he can't lose. Lamar's going to be throwing more. That's a win. Lamar could miss some games. Technically a win. The team has a lot of other priorities. That's a win. And he is a major target earner. I love Zay Flowers, but because just 14 points per game didn't jump off the page headed toward the wide receiver age apex, but not there yet. Wide receiver age apex, 26 and a half. So he's still a full year away from that. I love that call.
Yeah, he's also the kind of guy who you would expect to really excel versus zone coverage, but it's actually the opposite. He dominates versus man coverage. You can see this on his player page at the bottom on playerprofiler.com. Eighth in yards per route run versus man coverage, and a 34% first read target share versus man coverage. That is elite right there. And a very good sign just for his overall talent as a wide receiver.
He is talented. T.Y. Hilton's not the best comp for me because I don't ever think of him as being as fast as T.Y. Hilton, but T.Y. Hilton ran 4.39.
He's really fast, man.
Very similar, but they don't run him on the same route tree, even though they're best comparable. It's hard to conceptualize it because
very, very different offenses.
They run very different route trees and very different offenses. But T.Y. Hilton had some elite productive seasons when he had a pocket passer like Peyton Manning delivering him the football. This is very interesting to me. Zay Flowers is incredibly safe, and there's some upside here. I'm much more willing to go with the safe, high floor play in Dynasty than I am in seasonal leagues. I'm not here, man. In Dynasty, I'm not here to be taking big chances at wide receiver. I want to have my nucleus set. A couple guys that I can trust on the bench, but my mantra is I stockpile my bench in all formats with running backs.
Absolutely.
You have to do that. And if you're going to do that, then that further incentivizes you to lock in high floor options at the wide receiver position, because then that gives you the luxury of taking more shots, more dart throws at running back. It's the same philosophy of why we lean running back in round 3, round 4, round 5 of rookie drafts. The same exact philosophy. So who's a running back or a wide receiver? Let's go. We'll actually come back to running back on this because I never asked you this question about running backs, and I'm curious about that as well. But at wide receiver, the player that disappointed you where the rankings just did not do the player justice, or that you were surprised by the ranking and then you dug into it and you were like, actually, this is right.
Yeah, so one that we have had to reevaluate quite a bit over the last couple of weeks is Travis Hunter, who we currently have at wide receiver 47, keep trade cuts at wide receiver 24. I mean, that is just an incredible gap right there. But it's a simple case. His projection has fallen a ton over the last month because he's currently the 4th best wide receiver on the Jaguars, unfortunately. And in 2026, the most likely outcome is that he's going to be primarily a cornerback or a gadget receiver and a gadget receiver. So the projection doesn't line up from where he was drafted in rookie drafts. Unfortunately, I think he is just a horrible bet to produce much in 2026, especially, and likely 2027 as well, when you look at their wide receiver contracts they have on the books.
I think you found it. You found the opposite world version of Zay Flowers. This is such a risky play.
Yeah.
It's so... Drafting Travis Hunter? Are you insane? What the... You can't do that. There's too much at stake, man. In Dynasty, we're drafting these guys for their careers. Again, this strategy is all laid out in the Dynasty Dominator book, available on Amazon. Also is included in the Dynasty Deluxe package. It's all right there. You can't do this. Like, you can't draft Travis Hunter. He's undraftable in Dynasty. You can't touch him. And by the way, if you think that's a good take and you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook Twitter, go ahead and give us a like. If you're listening to the podcast, share it with a friend and be like, hey, listen to their take on Travis Hunter. Couldn't agree more. Or, I hate it. You can also share for that. Like, these guys are so wrong. I can't believe how much they like Quinshon Judkins. Ew. It's fine. It's all fine. It's all fine. It's all good. I can't. I can't. You couldn't in fiction draw up a scarier situation, asset, everything than Travis Hunter, all the way down to like the Parker Washington breakout.
Yep.
I mean, do you think that Brian Thomas could rebound?
Absolutely. I'm going to
isn't
be in
he
on Brian Thomas.
Is he not a top 5 rebound candidate for 2026?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He scored 3 points per game, less than his expected points per game. That is incredibly rare. If he can just hold on to the football, which we know that drops are not predictive at all, then he is going to be a very good receiver in this league.
They're just the slightest bit sticky. They're not sticky. But I mean, there's just the slightest bit of course there is some slight correlation. I mean, there are players.
Certain guys have the yips.
There's certain guys. It's a thing, but you can't tell that from a year.
Right.
A bad year is a bad year. It happens to all kinds of players and player profiles. I'm betting on Brian Thomas. All the football guys love Parker Washington. And guess what? Trevor Lawrence loves Jacoby Myers. Did I say Travis Hunter's name? I just listed 3 receivers, 3 Jaguars, and talk about Travis Hunter. And one of their needs is corner. So
absolutely, it is.
Someone has to someone explain this to me like I'm 8 years old. Explain to me how the hell Travis Hunter opens week 1, 2026 at the wide receiver position at all.
Look, he's an incredible player. I love Travis Hunter. He's so much fun to watch, but sadly, it's just not going to happen, at least in 2026 and probably in 2027 as well. Here's a quick case for each of the 3 Jaguars receivers being better than Travis Hunter. First of all, Brian Thomas put up 16 expected points per game this year. That was after a breakout rookie season. Jacoby Myers, before Jacoby Myers went to the Jaguars, they were a below average passing offense. After he went to the Jaguars, they were one of the league's best passing offenses. So clearly there's something working there. And then on Parker Washington, he ranks in the top 24 of target rate, first downs per route run, and yards per route run. Those are the most predictive metrics that we have for wide receivers. So I think it's pretty clear at this point that those 3 are all better than Travis Hunter.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think we might be too high on him. Like, wait, are we low enough on him at this point? It's like, I don't know. All right. Is there a wide receiver? Because we talked about free agency earlier, and it's just so hard to predict. Is there a receiver you think that free agency is going to create a value unlock, whether maybe gets a big extension out of nowhere, ends up from free agency, gets a bunch of money? There's usually a guy like that we didn't see coming, and you're like, oh wow, this guy he's earned a big role next year. It's going to happen. Who is there someone like that you can think of?
It's really a weird market for receivers this year. Obviously, Pickens is the number 1 guy, and it's not even close. Then we have Mike Evans, who's obviously going back to Tampa Bay. After that, we have
think so?
Debo. Oh, absolutely. He's not playing.
Why do you say that?
He would not play outside of Tampa Bay. I believe he said something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be shocked.
He's established. I have a house here. My family's here. I want to be here. I like the weather here. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so we look at the other free agent wide receivers. We have Debo Samuel. I wouldn't say he's a candidate. Juwan Jennings, it's been trending down. That is interesting, though. He has had some good metrics in the past. This wasn't his best year. Alec Pierce is going to get paid. There's no doubt about that. He's going to get $20 million plus per year, which I don't think is quite deserved. He's not the kind of receiver that I like to bet on in Dynasty because he's a pure deep threat.
But
Uh,
But I mean,
but he will get the
listen, man.
money.
I've never been a fan of Alec Pierce. I think that there's an archetype out there uh, that I'm fine having a little bit of exposure to. I think it's
Sure.
more of a season long profile. I just don't love the volatility in Dynasty. Again, I'm just a big pussy. When it comes to Dynasty, I don't like to take chances at wide receiver. And even like weekly volatility, I don't like. So I don't love Christian Watson in Dynasty. I don't love Alec Pierce in Dynasty. I've never have. But he's moving up. Like, who would you rather have right now? Let's think about deep threats. Would you rather you have Alec Pierce? What was he, a second round pick at one point? How about against a first round pick? How about Alec Pierce or Xavier Worthy?
Ooh, yikes! I think that one has to be Alec Pierce. Xavier Worthy, it's just gone so poorly for him, man.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I I I can't believe it. We're talking about a first round pick tethered to Patrick Mahomes at least in the second half of next year. We'll see when Patrick Mahomes comes back, but
Hmm.
it's going to be second half. We're going to have healthy Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be fine.
The metrics for Xavier Worthy this year, very, very poor. 67th in target rate, 80th in first downs per route run, 69th in yards per route run. It was a disastrous season, and that's while he's competing against guys like obviously there is Rashee Rice, but it's also Tyquan Thornton and Hollywood Brown. There's really this should have been a breakout year for him, and it just wasn't at all. And part of that is because Patrick Mahomes can't throw the deep ball anymore. Hate to say it, but it's true.
We do, again, this is not something that I asked for. This is not planned. We have Alec Pierce and Christian Watson adjacent in the rankings.
That's perfect.
I mean, they're both second round picks. They both put up about 12 and a half fantasy points per game,
Same
right?
archetype too.
They're the same guy. They run the same route tree. They're both like 26 years old. I mean, it's the same guy. It is. It is. And it makes sense though that Watson, is he a free agent?
No, they signed him for on a 1 year extension for next year.
Okay, let's look that up. Okay, you're right. Yeah, on Player Profiler, there's a contracts tab on Player Profiler 2027. Huh. Look at that. Only $6 million guaranteed. That's such a smart front office move.
They
When a
did that
player's
right before he came back from injury too.
coming back from
It was really
injury,
smart.
he's all uncertain about his future, and it's like, hey man, let's put you at ease. You maybe, just in case, it doesn't work out this year, you get hurt again. I know you feel like it's really been a tough few years. Kind of a star-crossed player. We get it, man. Let's get you some guaranteed money in your pocket, right? And then he goes out and has all these spike weeks. And now we're like, oh, we got him in 20. We got him locked up in his like super prime age 27 season for $6 million. Pretty smart.
Absolutely.
That's a good move.
Mm-hmm.
Now, tight end. Well, no. Let's go back to the running back position briefly.
Yep.
I want to revisit it because I feel like there's got to be a running back that we didn't discuss, similar to the players we've discussed at the wide receiver position and the quarterback position, a guy that's rising and it's sort of disproportionate to the market, and we get it, you get it, it makes sense, but we're happy to be out in front nonetheless.
That guy is Kaleb Johnson, who did absolutely nothing as a rookie, but we have him at running back 33, while Keep Trade Cut has him at running back 45. Pretty big gap there. So they're bringing in a new coach this offseason. That new coach is going to be explicitly told to play Kaleb Johnson a significant role because the front office just can't be happy that their third round running back didn't touch the field at all. And of course, he was a very good prospect. and it's an interesting system for him as well. So we are bullish on Kaleb Johnson, a very good prospect who is guaranteed to play more in year 2 than in year 1.
This is very interesting. This is very interesting. This is one of those questions someone needs to ask at the combine. This is
Call up Johnny Tuma.
The perfect question for Johnny Tuma or anyone that wants to get some traction on social media is to ask Pittsburgh coaches what they think of Kaleb Johnson and what they expect his role to be. We need to put it on the Pittsburgh coaches, or ideally even the general manager.
Yeah, even better.
If you can get at the general manager at the combine and put it to him and say, hey, were you disappointed in Kaleb Johnson's usage last year and expecting to see a lot more this year? I would love to hear him answer that question, because I think the answer would have to be yes. I think we were all disappointed.
Absolutely.
I mean, we were happy to see Kenneth Gainwell make plays. Kenneth Gainwell helped them win games. Jaylen Warren didn't. Have you come around to my point of view here that Gainwell is better than Warren, that Warren was the third best running back on that team?
Okay, well, that's ridiculous. Because obviously Kaleb Johnson did nothing as a rookie. So I think it's tough to say that he's better than Jaylen Warren right now. I would say Jaylen Warren is their best running back. I've just been a Jaylen Warren guy for a while, though. The advanced metrics, they love him a lot. 9th in juke rate, 7th in yards created per touch. You know I love my advanced metrics. 4th in yards per route run as well. That really favors Jaylen Warren. I think all the Kenneth Gainwell stuff was just him being Aaron Rodgers' best friend. And that's awesome. He did great for this year. I don't think it's going anywhere with Gainwell. I think he's probably over, and that's all he's going to give us in fantasy.
I didn't know some of those metrics. God, I just, this is the problem.
Look, Gainwell's metrics are good too. They are.
Oh, Gainwell's are insane. I've seen Gainwell's metrics, and I familiarized myself with Warren's metrics at one point in the season. But so I just assumed, right? Like, okay, wait a second. So the last time I checked their metrics, all I've done is see, all that's ever happened, as far as I'm concerned, is Gainwell's been making huge, big plays ever since. How could Warren compete? Look at them, but apparently it's possible. This is what happens when you assume. So I apologize to the audience. I apologize to my family. I apologize to everyone at Player Profiler. I made a reckless assumption that there's no fucking way that Jaylen Warren's metrics could keep up with Gainwell, and I was wrong.
But we should circle back to Kaleb Johnson. I don't think that Jaylen Warren is some bell cow back either. He has more of a complementary skill set, while Kaleb Johnson could theoretically, now we haven't seen it happen yet, but theoretically he could be the workhorse back there.
This has been my case all along. This has been what I'm saying all along. And if you're talking complementary satellite back plus players, I just happen to prefer Kenny Gainwell. But I think this is just...
So that's your guy.
This is a guy. He's my guy. Warren's your guy. I think it's perfectly fine. Yeah. But yes, Kaleb Johnson. See, this is it. This is what dude, I didn't know the answer. I just gave you the questions. I didn't know you were going to say Kaleb Johnson, but this is exactly what we're talking about. You draft a Zay Flowers so that you can take shots on the Kaleb Johnsons. The last thing you want to do is draft a Jaylen Warren on your Dynasty team. That's basically fake stability. That's like, I'm drafting a guy with great metrics who had the role last year and has had, been productive for a couple seasons, and then boom, rug pull because there's been a coaching change and the front office loves Kaleb Johnson and really wants to see him succeed, and he's actually good. And it's really no fault of anyone. And yet it's you're not getting the value you are hoping for with that particular it's all upside gravy with a Kaleb Johnson. So I want a bunch of Kaleb Johnsons in my running back room, and I want a bunch of Zay Flowers in my wide receiver room in Dynasty.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Caleb Johnson, the prospect profile was awesome. He was an 88th percentile breakout rating. Uh, you can check those ratings out on the Breakout Finder app, and you can check out his college metrics on his page. 99th percentile college dominator, 84th percentile college yards per carry. That's in the Big Ten as well. And and he has a solid receiving profile as well. So we should really expect that front office. That's the main point here, is that the front office is going to mandate that the head coach plays Caleb Johnson more this year. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
There's no doubt. There really is less than zero doubt. What about the player at the running back position that you think is heading in the wrong direction, and we're out ahead of it, and buyer beware?
We're going to another rookie here, Bill Krosky Merritt, who we have at running back 46. Keep trade cuts at running back 34. Bill is currently 24.8 years old, so he's going to be 25 next season, and he's not a pass catcher at all. 3% target share last year. Not a good environment, really, for the Commanders' running backs, in my opinion. They do have some of the Alfred Morris corollary, but I think that's negated by the poor offensive line and Bill just not being a pass catcher at all. They are also guaranteed to bring in significant competition for him, too. So overall, we are fading Bill Krosky Merritt.
They're going to bring in running backs, plural.
Mm-hmm.
Plural. That is the problem. We have no idea. Where are they drafting? We could talk. We're talking about what, mid-second round?
Sure.
Isn't that like the
Jonah Coleman?
Isn't that the ultimate running back zone? The mid-second round this year?
I think in this draft it's going to be later than that. But
I think it's all
we'll
later
see.
than that.
It's just because it's not as good of a class as last year.
So we have rookie running backs in our dynasty rankings now, and I thought it was very cool just to see Jeremiah Love in there. In the top 10. It's a cool feeling. So check it out. You can see where we have early, rough, speculative, subject to change. Rookies are now part of the rankings, and then we're going to get the dedicated dynasty rankings just for rookies up soon. So that's all coming, and that's exciting. Tight end position's not that exciting, but we need to talk about it. Guys moving up, guys moving down. Who caught your eye?
I thought the guy moving up was much more interesting, and this is Juwan Johnson, the tight end 15 in our rankings versus Keep Trade Cuts ranking of tight end 26. Uh, Juwan Johnson is in a great offensive situation, in my opinion. Maybe not great, good going forward with the Saints. Kellen Moore, very fast pace, high pass rate. Tyler Shuck had a very good rookie season. Juwan Johnson was the tight end 7 in expected points per game this year, but yet the consensus ranking is tight end 26, which is just not really mathing for me. He's also just kind of hitting that tight end like second apex range as well at 29.4 years old. That is not too old by any means for the tight end position. So I like Juwan Johnson quite a bit relative to consensus.
I love that. I don't have a take on Juwan Johnson. But the Quick Six Super Slam on Fast Draft, the highest owned player, you can pick any 6 guys, no salaries. We post the ownership inside the app, so you can see when you're picking.
Mm-hmm.
You could see number 1. It's actually Jackson Smith and Jigba over Puka. So there's more ownership on JSN than Puka. Number 3, do you know what number 3 is? Number 3 in ownership?
Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker, easily. So my question to you is, do you think that's a viable strategy this week, which is to put Kenneth Walker in your number 1 booster spot in the Quick Slam?
I believe I already did that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do some mocks here, and we get it figured out. But yeah, I mean, it's that's you didn't write an article on that.
No. I do think that's a good strategy.
Obviously, think you should. I think you should write an article.
It's a tricky game. Obviously, it's a tricky game because it could be low scoring, it could be high scoring, but it's there's much more potential for scoring in that game versus the Broncos Patriots game, in my opinion. The Seahawks Rams game could theoretically go nuclear. And obviously, Kenneth Walker is an absolute smash this week. Probably will see 80 to 90% of the touches.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it. I mean, we're doing these hypothetical lineups, and it's like, if I'm playing in the Super
Yeah.
Slam, man, I gotta think Kenneth Walker would be a way to get unique. I don't know this week, given the prize pool and how many entries there are. I don't know if you need to do more to get unique than just sort of go with a unique booster set. I mean, that's the big question. The Super Slam is it enough to just get creative with the boosters and just pick the 6 guys you think are going to be the top scorers? Just chalk it up with it, but play with the boosters, or do you need to at least bring in one sleeper? Do you need to bring in a Hunter Henry? Do you need to bring in a Diggs who's not top 6 in ownership? Bring in a Henderson who's not top 6 in ownership to get unique, because this is a very big test for the Super Slam. It hasn't been big enough in the last time we did this last year with this particular round, the conference championship round game. The player pool is just so restricted, and then you have some games in with bad weather. One of the teams has I'm not saying it's the worst weather, but it's at least going to be cold with some precipitation in Denver. And then Stidham's on the other side. So Stidham, his presence on the field just brings down both offenses. So that means it's less likely that they'll push for a shootout. So then now you're seeing all the ownership consolidate around the other game, where the top 4 guys in terms of ownership are all in Seahawks, Rams. And then so that it sort of restricts the player pool down a little bit more, where it's like, okay, you either got to kind of go off the board and get uncomfortable with your 5th or 6th player, or just try to play around with the boosters. But you don't want to go too crazy with the boosters, right? I don't know. It's interesting. I love checking the standings and seeing what kinds of teams are finishing in the top 5 in this tournament. This format. It's pretty cool. It's fun. It's fun to see. It's fun to check out.
Yeah. I think that's what makes the Quick Six Super Slam such an awesome format, is that it's very simple, but it's also very strategic. You can really dive deep into it if you really want to. I think that Broncos Patriots game is just chock full of interesting sleepers for this week. You got Kayshon Boutte, Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, Trevion Henderson on the Patriots. On the Broncos, maybe you got Dobbins, Ingram, Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, all interesting guys. One or two of those guys are going to be big payoffs relative to ownership, in my opinion, this week.
Maybe Ingram.
I don't hate that. Yeah.
Maybe Ingram with the
Because
backup
the
quarterback.
Patriots linebackers are a position I want to target.
That's what I'm thinking. That's an interesting one. I do like that. And it is cool to see in the Super Slam, you see experienced people winning one week. You see inexperienced people, newbies winning the next week. In fact, I have a whole slide on that, like how we're in the sweet spot of both experienced and inexperienced people playing and winning for fantasy. I have a whole like slide deck for investors, and that's a whole slide, is to show like us in like with prize picks. It's mostly casual people that play. Underdog Best Ball, DraftKings, DFS, mostly highly experienced people that are playing and winning. And how do you find a game that's in that sweet spot? And so that's one of the sort of value propositions, one of the differentiators that we have. If you're interested, if you're an accredited investor, you want to check it out, I'm available. I spend a lot of time doing that lately. It's just been it's been fun to try to put my day together, fitting in a podcast. We're doing a podcast Friday night because it's when I'm available, because and hopefully my voice holds up. It is nice that as a podcaster, when you're doing these presentations, if I hadn't been podcasting all these years, I'm sure it would be much more of a struggle. So podcasting has helped me in a bunch of different ways. And you and I have talked about it, like getting reps in front of the camera, getting reps in front of the microphone. Yeah, it's just, and I'm always available on email, matt@rotowonderworld.com, matt@rotowonderworld.com. If you have any comments, questions, you want to see anything that what we're doing. Dynasty Truther. Who do you have that you refuse to give up on this guy, even though the market has walked away, very, he's cratered and keep trade cut, total throw-in player, but you're in and you're getting all of them.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't have like the perfect answer for this, but I do have a few different options. And I'll start you off with Josh Downs, who is by no means like completely ignored by the community, obviously. I just think that he is like incredible, like maybe a top 20 receiver in the league just by skill set. Like he can run every route. He has incredible hands, good after the catch. He's got everything. So I love Josh Downs.
And
And
Pierce,
then
my
another,
free agent, leaving, right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
talked
No,
about it.
there's
One of the
there's a
most
genuine case
likely
for him as
players to
well.
leave in free agency. His team is going to be Alec Pierce.
Absolutely. So yeah, I want all the Josh Downs. There's no way I would sell him for anything. AJ Barner is another one. I remember telling you and
What?
Theo about this when Theo was working with us on the Dynasty rankings about AJ Barner. This had to be like a year and a half ago. Just keep an eye out for him. And he's kind of broken out this year. The fantasy metrics, they're not awesome, but this is a guy
No.
who's great, who's got kind of got the all-around tight end skill set. He's got the jump ball ability. He can find some soft spaces in zone, and is an exceptional blocker as well. And then I'll give you the extremely super, super, super deep one that I actually had to cut from a roster this year that really hurt. This is my guy, Julius Chestnut, out of Sacred Heart University. He's a running back, the running back 4 on the Tennessee Titans. He's a guy that I want to keep on all of my dynasty benches just because I love him. Part of it's his name. Part of it is how productive he was at Sacred Heart. I just love the guy.
The Sacred Heart football field is walking distance from my house, so I'm a fan, right? I'm a fan. Yeah, Julius Chestnut till I die. That's a great.
That's my guy.
That's a great. Wait, is he a free agent?
I believe so.
He must be because he wasn't drafted.
Right.
So puts in his 3 years and he's done.
Yep.
Hell
He's
yeah!
a free agent.
Where would we like to see Julius Chestnut land?
Chiefs running back 1 potentially.
Oh,
What do we think?
Julius Chestnut to the Chiefs. Fuck yeah! Let's go. Let's go, man. All right, bold prediction. I'll get you out of here.
Bold prediction. Got kind of a 3-pronged one for you here. The Chicago Bears finished first in points per game in 2026. Colston Loveland is a top 5 tight end, and this is the spiciest one right here. Rome Odunze is a top 8 wide receiver in fantasy in 2026.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to PlayerProfiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, Data Analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.